So today we have got to break down and talk about Alabama against USF, a game that's pretty interesting. Because even though Alabama won last year, this is still a revenge game for the Crimson Tide because last year's game was an ugly slugfest, something that's been burned into the memories of Alabama fans and players alike. Today, we need to talk about what Alabama must do to dominate USF. What are the keys to victory and everything in between? But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe Alabama dominates USF? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss any of it. And by the way, thank you all very much for the support on last video. It is over 17,000 views, but only 25% of viewers are subscribed. So be sure to do that. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And I'd like to start with USF's offense against Alabama's defense, because USF is running a veer and shoot scheme. And one of the things I've talked about all offseason is that I love for Alabama's young defensive backs that they get to go against USF before they take on Tennessee. Because Golish has done a really solid job in turning around the fate of USF, but also this scheme is something you don't happen upon too often during the season. So anytime you get to go up against it, it's a great learning experience, and especially for an Alabama team that's going to have to play Tennessee later down the line. Now, I understand Nico looked real good. Can't wait to see how he continues to evolve this season. And Tennessee has better players. But at the end of the day, being able to go up against this scheme is still a net positive in my opinion. And it's one of the reasons I have pointed you to this game all offseason, is because Alabama's young defensive backs get to start learning about this veer and shoot, not in practice, but in actual play. And I love that. So let's really talk about the keys to victory here, because USF has a pretty good rushing attack. In fact, I really like their running back, Joyner, number 8. When you watch him, he is a fun, explosive player. He's a very patient runner, but whenever he makes his cut, he's got the jets to get out in space. So for Alabama, you have got to be disciplined up front. You have got to try and contain him and make sure he's earning every yard he gets. But it gets a little bit more difficult when you couple Joyner with the fact that they have a quarterback that's also an athletic guy that can make defenses pay with his legs. And he understands the system he's in. Because of that, it only makes gap integrity even more important for this Alabama defense. Alabama is going to have to try and generate pressure from the interior while keeping contained on the edge. And that's one area I actually think they can. They can get some pressure from the interior, whether that's with LT Overton, whether that's with James Smith, Tim Keenan, Jaheim Otis, whoever it may be, and let your edge guys maintain their integrity and collapse the pocket. If Alabama is able to do that, they're going to make it difficult for this offense that, one, has some talented guys to be able to get out in space and run the ball, both in terms of the quarterback play and in terms of the running back play, but two, an offense that wants to get the ball out quick. And whenever you look at this offense, they're going to utilize tempo, but the other thing they're going to do is try and lull you to sleep. And that makes a dangerous offense whenever you have a running back that is talented, whenever you have a quarterback that can run the football, and whenever they go in tempo. They're trying to lull a defense to sleep. And what do I mean when I say that? They're going to show you similar look after similar look after similar look until they don't. What I mean is they're going to do something similar multiple times, and then on the third, fourth, fifth time, they're going to change it up. So maybe they're running comeback routes, comeback routes, comeback routes. Well, on the fourth or fifth time, your DB jumps the route, but it's a double move. It's a deep shot. And that's something that this USF offense has done both last year and the beginning stages of this year. So for Alabama, it's not just about staying disciplined up front, it's about being disciplined on the back end as well. Now, luckily, with this vision and break coverage, I'm really excited to see how the defensive backs play this. Because whenever you look at USF, they're going to run a lot of pre-snap motion, but they also run a lot of comeback routes. And Alabama was successful in getting interceptions last week. There are opportunities for them to generate turnovers in this game as well, so long as the back end is playing disciplined. because, like I said, there will come a point where USF runs a bunch of comebacks, then they're going to hit a double move and try and go deep. Luckily, Alabama's got the speed on the outside in the cornerback position. Damani Jackson's a guy that ran a 10-2 500-meter dash, and when you go back, watch Alabama's defense against Western Kentucky's offense, he's physical at the point of attack. He was jamming wide receivers, and he's going to make it very difficult for them to get off the line of scrimmage clean, and luckily, if they do, he's got the speed to recover. So it's going to be interesting. Then you look at the other side, you have a Xavier Brown, you have a Jalen Mbakwe, Zay Mincy, who is diagnosing plays really quickly. This USF offense wants to get the ball out quick whenever they're passing, whether that's screens, whether that's short passes, or whether that's comebacks. Alabama's defense is going to want to keep everything in front of them, but they also want to get off the field. They don't want an extended drive like Western Kentucky was able to generate that one time. Now, granted, Western Kentucky only did it once, but USF is going to try and put drives together through the quick passing game. Alabama's going to want to keep everything in front of them, and I do absolutely believe there are opportunities for turnovers for this Bama secondary. And Sab already started last week hot. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if he jumps one of these comeback routes, because I believe that while USF's quarterback is very good, the scheme they're running whenever they get into this tempo will allow for Alabama's athletic defensive backs to try and make plays on the football. So that's what we're looking at. Alabama has got to try and generate pressure via the interior while maintaining integrity on the edge so that the quarterback doesn't run out and hurt you on the ground, because he absolutely has the ability to do so. He's a really athletic guy, and he's dangerous because of that. They also have a running back I really like, Joyner, number 8. Patient runner, a guy that can make a cut and then really make you pay. So for Alabama's defensive front, it's about collapsing the pocket, but being disciplined when doing so. And I absolutely think that the difference in this game is interior pressure, getting pressure from the guard, center guard position. And I think Alabama will be able to do so. On the outside, it's also about being disciplined. And I know that that seems like kind of a throwaway word, because it's always about being disciplined, but especially against an offense that's going to utilize tempo at the rate that USF is, they're going to try and lull you to sleep with comebacks, with short game until they hit you with a double move. Luckily, Alabama has the speed on the back end, but once again, I do believe in this vision and break coverage on this back end that Alabama will be able to generate a turnover or two, and it wouldn't shock me at all to see Sab with another interception. In fact, if I was betting, I would probably bet on him to get one, just based on how USF runs their offense. If he sees this quarterback, and this quarterback, if he keys in on a wide receiver and makes it known, hey, this is my read, I'm staring him down, these defensive backs might jump a route and they might get a takeaway. So that's the offense for USF against Alabama's defense. Very interested to see if Alabama does a little bit of a heavier package. Last week, one of the things you saw was 2 bandits, a defensive tackle, and a wolf. I wonder this week if we'll see a bandit, 2 defensive tackles, and a wolf to account for a running quarterback, be more physical up front, be able to disrupt the line of scrimmage, and to be able to stop a rushing attack for USF that, in my opinion, is a little bit better than the rushing attack Western Kentucky brought to the table. So, interested to see the evolution of this Womack defense, and I really can't wait to see what Alabama looks like up front. Will we see a combination of Tim Keenan, James Smith, LT Overton, and Quay Russaw? That, I think, is a package that could really handle a rushing threat while simultaneously making it tough for the quarterback to get out. And also, Q-Rob had a really good game against Western Kentucky, applying pressure to the quarterback, even if he didn't get the sack. So Alabama's got different options on the front end. The back end, they have very talented players, and this is going to be great experience. But let's talk about Alabama's offense against this Western Kentucky defense, because there will be opportunities for Alabama to generate explosive plays. Why? Because Western Kentucky runs a whole lot of single high safety. Now, that being said, they bring pressure from different areas, and they did so last year. They're going to do so this year. For Alabama, it's about letting Jalen Milroe have time. Because if you give him time, I think the Alabama wide receivers on the outside are going to be able to get free, especially if it's against single high safety. We saw Ryan Williams get free a few times last week. I think that not only he has the opportunity to get free, but also a Kendrick Law, right? So what this USF team wants to do, they usually drop that one safety in the box to try and take away the run. but they will go into some too high safety stuff. It's just disproportionately speaking, they're running single high safety. So, if in the event Alabama is able to really establish a run game, it's going to be interesting to see what USF does to try and take that away, being in that they already pool resources to stop the run. So if Alabama maintains a healthy rushing game and is able to pass the ball, I don't know what USF is going to be able to do. Because if they go too high safety, Alabama is going to be all too happy to run the ball. If they're in single high safety and Alabama is able to account for the blitz, which in this pin and pull scheme, one of the things we talked about in this offseason is if you have an aggressive defensive front, which USF does have an aggressive defensive front, they're going to drop some guys in coverage and send pressure in the middle. They're going to send pressure from the outside. They want to send pressure to a quarterback. But the problem with that against a pin and pull offense is that sometimes aggression is your worst enemy because you can run right by where the play is going, being overly aggressive, or the pin and pull picks it up and now there's a giant hole and a running back is able to hit it. In fact, and I always hate to bring this up, first play of Alabama's A-Day. You had Q-Rob get a little too aggressive, try and collapse in, and the pin and pull ran right by him. That's what I mean against an aggressive defensive front. Sometimes this pin and pull can really give them issues, and I'm wondering what we're going to see in that capacity. I think that Jalen Milroe is obviously going to have to throw the ball more than 9 times, and I actually hope he does. I would love for them to get more reps as Wisconsin is on the horizon, as Georgia is down the line. Reps are a great thing right now, and while it was awesome to see Alabama handle Western Kentucky, I want to see this offense have more time with the first unit out there together, running through pass plays, because Jalen Milroe had a few throws last Saturday that were awesome to see. The corner route to Jeremy Bernard was beautiful. And then that second touchdown to Ryan Williams was also a thing of beauty, right? He had a few throws where I was like, yeah, Jalen Milroe is absolutely progressing as a quarterback under this new system and with these guys working with him. And it's clear to see. But I want to see that continue on Saturday. And I think USF is going to try and be much more aggressive than was Western Kentucky. And that's a good thing for Alabama's offensive line. It's a good thing for Jalen Milroe to go against a defense that's going to try and get after him and get after him frequently. But when you bring pressure, you also leave yourself open on the back end. And if I've realized that USF is running a lot of single high safety, you bet your sweet bippy that Nick Sheridan, Kalen DeBoer, and this offensive staff have realized the same thing. If I've already put together that they want to bring pressure from a lot of different areas, you bet your bottom dollar that Alabama's offensive staff has also realized the same thing. So I think we're going to see some looks to attack pressure that are going to welcome the pressure and for Jalen Milroe to get the ball in the empty area. And if he does that, Alabama's got tremendous playmakers that I absolutely think are underrated, and we're going to see them shine in this new scheme. So I think Alabama takes the win. How much of a win, I'm really excited to see. But if I had to guess right now, I think Alabama has another repeat performance of what we saw last week. Whether they get a shutout or not, I'm not sure, because whenever you talk about USF's offense, you are talking about a lot of tempo. You are talking about an offense that's pretty darn good. And I get it, they weren't a top 25 offense last year, but I'm speaking from a schematic standpoint. You don't see veer and shoot every day. Alabama's got young defensive backs. They look to move fast. They look to do things differently. They look to spread you out. That's going to be great experience. So whether they get a shutout or not, I don't know. But I like Alabama to win big by probably 21 points, because I do believe this is a game where Alabama wants to send a message. Western Kentucky had some players talking last week. Well, USF has done some talking this week. Couple that with the fact that last year USF took it to Alabama. Quite frankly, yes, USF lost, but they took it to Alabama. Alabama's going to want to spin the block and get that back. Let's be honest here. That's exactly what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to attack. They are going to want to get that back in blood. And now it's their opportunity. So as long as Alabama plays disciplined on defense and is able to attack the aggression of USF, I have Alabama winning by at least 3 touchdowns, as I think this offense is going to continue taking steps forward as the season progresses. I know there's this notion of you are who you are. But that doesn't always ring true whenever there's been a complete scheme overhaul, which is exactly what's happening at Alabama. In those instances, you continue to progress because you haven't been able to do this for a full year. You're just now really diving into the playbook, and I'm excited to see what that looks like against USF, but I'm really excited to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking about this game. That's it. See ya.